One of the biggest tricks that the institution essentially is using to control Muslims is, let's say every single Jummah you go and you hear, ittaqillah, ittaqillah. The Imam, he shouts it in the khutbah, he hammers it in, and sort of every time, whether that is in English or in Urdu, you read the Quran as well and you open it up, it says, Fe Allah. Or, in Urdu, Allah se daro, right? That's the line that's drilled in our heads. But here's the truth. In Arabic, classical Arabic, taqwa, it doesn't mean terror. What essentially it means is it means to shield or to protect, right? To guard yourself with God consciousness, to be mindful, and essentially when you understand that God is love, it's to be mindful of that love, to be mindful of it, to be mindful al-haq of the truth, because God is the truth, to live in awe, like be in awe of God. Right? Not to be scared of God like he's a tyrant or some gangster in the sky. And the same applies to the word khawf. When they talk about, for example, let's say in Surah Al-Araf, when God says, call on God, in khawf and hope. If you look into most translations, in most Qurans, 99% of them, the translation is fear and hope. But logically, it doesn't make sense, man. You can't be terrified and hopeful at the same time. What it actually means is awe. And there's been many scholars that's been speaking about this. But you have to go on to tafsir, which is essentially deeper translation. But 99 people, they don't do that. 99% of people, they don't do that. So it's essentially a mechanism for people to... Why doesn't it state? Why don't we have footnotes that say that essentially it makes a lot more sense? You have many scholars that speak about this. It's the idea of being in awe of God. Of being in awe of God, to have that reverence and longing, right? That trembling, respect you feel when you stand in front of something that is greater than you. Not this panic and fear and judgment and hate. And the same if you look into the institutions, what they've done is that they flipped it. For centuries, when you had the khutbahs, they lean on threat, right? And all of the laws as well, they've built around the idea of fear, right? The Hisbah, the moral police, has justified, fear Allah, right? In the sense that they chose the hardest shade of the word, where they could have used other words. They could have given the people the option to use the Quran as a superposition where you can understand that the Fusha, that classic Arabic language, has so many meanings to it. So they could truly understand the word itself. But why do they not do that? Why do they insist on fear, even though it does not make sense in that situation? Why do they insist on it? And I'm not the one to say it. If you look in